Imagine if you had one opportunity to ask Jesus any question at all. Well, there was a man who we learn about in Luke chapter 12 who had such an opportunity. He encountered Jesus as the Lord was going about and preaching, and this was the question that he raised. Verse 13, someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." Now imagine that. This man doesn't even actually ask a question. He just makes a declaration, a command almost. "Hey, teacher, why don't you tell my brother to get over here and to split up our family inheritance?" Jesus replied to him in verse 14, "Man, who appointed me a judge or arbiter over you?" Then he said to them, "Beware, and be on your guard against every form of greed, for not even when one has an abundance does his life consist of his possessions." Jesus replies by essentially saying, listen, my mission isn't here to be here to settle all of your little familial squabbles. No. And in fact, Jesus then goes on to use this opportunity to preach a powerful lesson about greed and covetousness. He turns from addressing the man singularly to addressing all those who were there, which would have included his disciples. And he warns them to be on guard against all forms of greed, all lust for money, all covetousness, because who we are is not about what we possess. And this is a message, this is a lesson that is so desperately needed in our world today. We're living in a time of great wealth. Historians tell us that the world is richer, that there are fewer people living in poverty now than at any other time in recorded human history. There are people who have amassed incredible amounts of wealth, and all of us, those of us who live in wealthy, prosperous nations, and those who live in developing countries, and those who are living in impoverished circumstances, all of us need to remember what Jesus taught on this occasion. Now, Jesus went from this setting, this scene, this command from his audience member to settle his dispute with his brother, to launching into an incredibly potent parable. Very profound teaching from the Lord. Let's read it in Luke chapter 12, beginning in verse 16. He told them a parable saying, "The land of a rich man was very productive. And he began reasoning to himself, saying, 'What shall I do, since I have no place to store my crops?' Then he said, 'This is what I will do. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have many goods laid up for many years to come. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your soul is required of you. And now who will own what you have prepared? So is the man who stores up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God." This man commanded that Jesus help him get his inheritance, and the Lord replied with this incredible parable, talking about a man who had yielded a tremendous crop. But instead of thinking outwardly, instead of thinking about others, instead of thinking about the good in his community, for his family, and for the needy people who were his neighbors, instead of thinking about others with this money, he thought only inwardly, only of himself. He stockpiled and hoarded all of this wealth, and he looked around at his incredibly large new barns that were packed to the brim, and he was content, thinking, now, since I have all of these possessions, my life is complete. And Jesus called him a fool for thinking that his life consisted in his possessions. We need to learn from the Master here. We need to guard ourselves against looking with greed and envy and covetous eyes at what others possess, thinking, I need that for myself. I have to have that for myself. The Apostle Paul said that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And he said, because of the love of money, this is powerful. Because of the love of money, Paul said, many had strayed from the faith in their greediness. They had abandoned the Lord altogether to pursue wealth above all else. They are fools, because on the night of their death, all that they amassed will mean nothing to them, and they'll stand before the Lord in judgment and have to give an account for how they were good stewards or not of all the Lord blessed them with. We'll have to do the same one day. What are we doing with our treasures?